بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. This is Tuesday, 17th of January 2023. And in our series, Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 385. I apologize for the slight delay in starting because of a bit of technical problem we were having. These days in these broadcasts, we're discussing the meanings of chapter 2, Al-Baqarah, verse 106. And its words. And this is the 10th broadcast in that series. Sorry, I just received a message. Yes. Sorry about that. Some people who couldn't hear the audio on the radio station. So I've just corrected that. As I said, this is Tuesday, 17th of January, 2023, and this is broadcast number 385 of Reflections on the Holy Quran, and this is the 10th broadcast about words of chapter 2, verse 106. And just to remind you that these broadcasts are brought to you by Laser Lahore Ahmadiyya School of Education in Religion, which is a branch, a department of the Ahmadiyya Anjuman Ishaat Islam. The Ahmadiyya movement was established by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Rahmatullah Alayh, who taught us that although other Muslims say that other prophets can come after the Holy Prophet Muhammad. The Holy Quran says that the Holy Prophet was Khatamun Nabiyyin, and the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained that by saying, La Nabiyya Ba'di, there is no prophet after me. So now no prophet can come, whether it is an old prophet or a new one. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad had claimed that in accordance with the hadith of the Holy Prophet, that God will raise in this ummah reformers regard the ummah. He was a reformer, and for 1400 years before him, such reformers had been appointed by God. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's distinction was that he bore the characteristics of the Messiah and the Mahdi that were prophesied by the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad also taught that although other Muslims say Hadith comes first in our sources, it is the Holy Quran that comes first, followed by the Sunnah, and then followed by Hadith. And he also taught that although other Muslims claim that some verses of the Holy Quran are abrogated and some divine revelation sent to the Holy Prophet Muhammad is missing from the Holy Quran, this is incorrect. And nothing is missing from the Holy Quran, and no verse of the Holy Quran is abrogated. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad taught that jihad is a fundamental duty of every Muslim. And the definition of the jihad was given by the Holy Prophet himself, who, when returning from fighting, said that Muslims are returning from the minor jihad to the major jihad. And he went on to explain that the major jihad is jihad bin nafs, jihad against your own soul, a struggle against your own soul to do the right thing. Let us turn to the verse of the Holy Quran that we are talking about. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها نأتي بخير منها أو مثلها ألم تعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير. And its translation by Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ali Rahmatullah Alayh was whatever message we abrogate or cause to be forgotten, we bring one better than it or one like it. Know you not that Allah is possessor of power over all things. So today we will look at the word shay'in, which is the second last word of this verse of the Holy Quran. And its root, let me take a drink, my throat is getting dry. Its root is Sheen, Ya, Hamza. And words based on this root appear in the Holy Quran 519 times. Basically, there are only two words, 283 times the noun shay, and 236 times the verb sha'a. Sha'a means desire, will, and shay is the other one that means thing, something. And there is a difference of opinion which is not of great importance as far as the guardians of the Holy Quran is concerned. Because some people say shay is something about which you can get some information or inform others about what it is. For example, the Holy Quran chapter 39 verse 62 says, Allahu khaliqu kulli shay. God created everything. So, this would mean things that you can see, hear, etc. But others include in this even those things which cannot be seen or heard, things which are not physical, things like ideas, concepts. And for example, God says, Masha Allahu kana wa ma lam yasha yasha'ulam yakun. What God wants, what God wills happens. And this was the first meaning I told you, the first word. And what he doesn't want doesn't happen. Now, this is a thought, an intention, an idea. It's not a thing. Or another one, chapter 2, verse 185, Yuridullahu bikumul yusra wala yuridu bikumul usra. God wants ease for you. He does not want hardship, difficulty. Again, this is a desire. This is a thought. And sometimes human intentions, human desires are against what God has decreed. And it's really strange that although some of these things happen in front of our eyes, and we know they've happened in history, and yet we continue to sort of believe that they won't happen to us. For example, no human desires to die. But we know people in the past have died, great men. And by great, I don't mean great in the worldly sense. That those close to Allah, they died. We bury our own relatives, our own parents, and so on. But then we continue to wish, we continue to believe that this won't happen to us. Why do I say that? Because if we actually believe that one day we will die and we will be accountable, then we would not behave in the way that we do. And another concept, I'll come to this in a minute, but I'll mention it, arises from chapter 8, verse 28. Liman sha'a minkum ay yastaqim. And that is that whoever from among you wants to walk the straight path, do so. And the non-believers, the Quraysh of Makkah, they said, oh, well, it's then up to us. If we want to be steadfast on the right path, we will. And if we don't want to, then we won't. So I'll come back to this point again in a while. Right. I'm just flicking through my notes. And so, as I said, that the word means to will, to decide to do something. Now, many people make no distinction, and in fact, there is no distinction between the intention and determination and so on. And these are mere sort of technical academic discussions. Which don't really benefit us much. Now, you have to start off from the point that we need to correct our concept of God and his Godhead. See, we think, God forbid, that God is a bit like Stalin. Although there are rules and regulations, he doesn't follow any. He just does what he wants to. One day you go and say to him something and he's all over you and he loves you and, and all that kind of thing. Next day you go and say the same thing and suddenly he flares up in anger and have you arrested and your family executed and whatever. Because he has power over everything. And we know Hitler and Stalin had power over everything. But this is not the concept of God's Godhead, Allah's Godhead. What Allah has done is created laws and rules for the operation of this universe. And he has said that I do not go outside those rules. I have bound myself. He says I can. Just like Stalin and Hitler, God says, I can do it. Who's going to stop me? But I don't. I mean, just think about this. How will we regulate our lives? One day it rained, and rather than giving life to grass and flowers and vegetables and plants, it killed them all. We wouldn't know what was going on. We see clouds, it's going to rain. We don't know whether we need to protect our plants or let them benefit from this rain. And this applies to all aspects of life. So God says, I have created rules and I'm bound by those rules. Now, what happens is that in this world, there's cause and effect. We do something and there is a result. That's going forward. But if you go back, there is something that happened. What caused it? It was that. And then what caused that? And you go back to its cause. And you keep tracing this back. Then you'll come to a point which a scientist would say is the point at which the Big Bang took place, where you cannot determine what the cause is. What was the cause of Big Bang? We don't know. Science tells us that all the matter in the whole of this universe was concentrated on one small dot, and suddenly it exploded. Why did it explode? How long was it in the form of that dot? And 1,000 other questions. But we can't answer them because we don't have enough information. We may not ever have enough information. In the same way, a believer would say, well, God caused it to happen. And you might say, well, why? And we can't answer that. All we can say is, well, he wanted to. It was his will. And he decided that he was going to do it. But as soon as that Big Bang took place, all the rules and regulations of physics and chemistry and biology and everything else that came into being, then God voluntarily said, I am going to follow those laws. If you're on earth and you raise your hand and you let go of something, it will always come down, it won't go up. The best we can say about the creation is that the Holy Quran says that when God decides to do something, then he says, be, and it is. I mean, it doesn't obviously mean that God literally says be, and it is, but, God decides, and it happens. Unless there are rules and regulations about Big Bang, maybe there are, and we don't know what they are. As soon as that Big Bang took place, the laws of physics and astronomy and mathematics and chemistry and biology and everything came into being at that very point. And the universe began to operate in accordance with those laws. And God says that, I have created a rule for everything, and I don't go against those rules. Chapter 33, verse 99, I think. It says that you will not find any change in Sunnatullah, God's laws. And that is an important thing. Just people talk about, God can do this, God can do that, and so on and so forth. Yes, he can. But he has said to make our lives easy so that we know what's going on. He's not going to breach his own rules. But you see, another misconception is that the Holy Quran, for example, says in chapter 18 that it's up to each individual which path he wants to walk. Those who want to believe, it's up to them. Those who want to disbelieve, it's up to them. Now, many people say that, well, why will God punish us? If you don't believe, why will God punish us? Because here he says, those who want to believe, believe. Those who don't want to believe, don't have to. The reason is, we go back to our cause and effect. God has given you the freedom to do something. But then once you've done that, the consequences, the result of what you have done is going to be in accordance with God's laws, which are given in the Holy Quran. I mean, the example I say that, if you have Turkish delight and if you have poison and you take poison, but you don't want it to kill you, but you want to enjoy that poison like it was Turkish delight, it won't happen. Your freedom is to choose what to do. But the consequence of what you do is determined by the laws that God has written down for us in the Holy Quran. You cannot say that I will do this thing, I will take the poison, but I won't die. I don't want to die. You should take the poison, you will die, because that is God's law. But you can't blame God for that, because you had freedom to take any action that you wanted to. But then the result is in a way predetermined. If you go up to the top of this house and jump off, and then you break your arms and your legs and so on and wonder why that happened, and you blame God for it. No. All God did was to create the law. You exercised your own freedom of choice to jump off the top of this house. God didn't make you do it. And there are many other verses. For example, chapter 3, verse 144. One translation is that the person who wants guidance from God, God guides him. And they say that the words "man yasha" mean that the person who wants to, the person who desires. So that's up to a person wanting it. But it's sometimes mistranslated as God guides whomsoever he pleases. So you will then say, well, so I'm not guided to the right path, that's God's fault, because God says God guides to the right path whoever he pleases, and he didn't guide me to the right path. So, it must have been him who didn't want me to follow the right path. Whereas the verse actually says that if you want to be guided, first you must want to be guided. This is common sense, isn't it? If I want to learn Arabic, there's no point in trying to beat me into learning Arabic unless I want to. But if I want to learn Arabic, I then have to take the next step, do something about it. I have to want to be guided. I have to want to learn Arabic or Spanish or quantum theory or whatever it is. And it's the same here. People just, want the easy way out and say, oh, well, it's God's fault. God didn't want me to do this. God didn't want me to learn this. God didn't want me to be honest. God didn't want me to be truthful and so on. It's all God's fault. I've not done anything wrong. God said, I guide whoever I want to. No, he didn't. It's this kind of misconception, misunderstanding of the verses of the Holy Quran that causes problems. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib came and created a Jamaat to do exactly that, to tell people that in many things, what they need to do is to correct their thinking, their understanding about the message of the Holy Quran. And this is one example. God says, I guide a person who wants to be guided, and people take it to mean that God guides whoever he wants to, and those that he doesn't want to guide, he doesn't guide. This will be a bit unfair, to put it mildly. It'll be unfair to judge people and then punish them if that was the case. And God says, I'm just. And these are the kinds of misunderstandings that have arisen about the message of the Holy Quran and so on, which have meant that a reformer had to be sent to guide people to the correct understanding of the Holy Quran. We come to the end of our time for broadcast, so I take my leave of you with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep all of you safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, goodbye.